I think we can get started here. Great. We're excited for you to join us today. Thank you very much. We know you're very, very busy, and we really appreciate your time and respect your time. We're excited to walk through a big release that's coming up in a couple of weeks, and later this month, around the ideas feature. My name is Steven Cohn. I'm the CEO. AB, you want to go to the next slide? I'm the CEO of ProductPlan. For those who haven't met me, my background is that I'm a 4-time founder. So I'm a product builder who's crazy enough to love the 0 to 1 phase of building product. But I've also been a part of scaling product. And with me today is a partner of mine, Adrian, who's the director of product management here, who's a long career in product management and with ProductPlan. Feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. As a product builder myself, I know the challenge of figuring out. The hardest part of product is always figuring out what to build next. Of course, there's a lot of opinions. There's a lot of feedback that comes in from people who are your target customers, people who are not your target customers, your internal stakeholders, sales, success, executives. Of course, executives have their opinions. And so that's eats up a tremendous amount of time, energy, and sometimes because of opinions, the hippo problem, we end up maybe sometimes prioritizing the wrong things. So what we're trying to do with ProductPlan under this big umbrella we call product intelligence is to streamline and simplify the feedback collection process and make it all the way through to your prioritization decisions and what gets actually added to the roadmap. With the new redesign that Adrian's going to walk through, we're excited about. We're introducing a new concept called a signal. Signal is basically just a piece of evidence that you get, whether that's from a research project you did, or discovery work that you do, or if it's from feedback forms. We've redesigned the feedback form as well in this new project. The idea is that you guys have a fire hose. When you're running product, you have a fire hose of inbound information and opinions. We want to make it really easy to organize, streamline, and then prioritize all that feedback accordingly. So we're introducing this new concept of a signal. We're going to use both a manual, if you want, as well as an AI to help you automatically organize signals. Signals, again, are evidence into ideas, feature ideas. We're going to give you ways to prioritize those ideas based on your desired framework. We know that everyone has their own kind of different frameworks on prioritization. So the key is that you'll see is we do have some templates, but we also have a lot of flexibility in our product on customizing your prioritization framework and then being able to apply that at the idea space. And then of course, once you've put that prioritization against it, the ability to promote that to your roadmap and have that evidence follow through, so your stakeholders understand why the prioritization decisions were made. For you to have the easy ability to follow up with people who made requests for certain features when they get promoted to your to the roadmap, and then also be able to use that ideas space to proactively collect feedback from your stakeholders in an asynchronous way, much more efficient, time efficient way. There's a heavy AI component, not necessarily in the initial release, but AB is going to walk through. We have a stage release. First release is coming out in a few weeks, and then we're going to have a bunch of follow-on features, as I know you guys are familiar with your releases. A lot of AI to streamline and create efficiency here. And the high level is that we see this as a continuum from a comment or a request or a feature idea or a pain point or a challenge that comes up in either a discovery conversation or feedback form or whatever that is, all the way through the ideation, the prioritization, into the roadmap, into delivery, and being able to educate your customers on what gets built. So that's how we see our role in the PDLC. And with that, I will hand it over to AB to walk through the prototype of what's coming soon.
All right. Thank you, Steven. I like the phrase reimagined. We kind of said that a few times. We talked about it in the roadmap space too. And, we've heard a lot of feedback around our current ideas space. And the card tile visual is kind of cool, but it's just hard to digest a lot of information at once and really work with that data. So, similar to road mapping, we're completely reimagining what this experience looks like. How do I collect feedback and get that evidence from the various touch points that I'm already having with my customers and stakeholders? Really be able to synthesize that and sort of make those prioritization decisions, whether that's an initial prioritization of, hey, we need to do more discovery on this, or to the point where you're making a prioritization decision about what gets on the roadmap. So, completely reimagined experience that we'll walk through. And as Stephen mentioned, we are actually entering QA on this right now. So, you'll see a lot of what I'm showing you today coming into the platform within a couple of weeks. Um, the first thing I want to call attention to is this. We're using a demo product called Blue Wave Airlines here, but this is in your app today. It's product segmentation layer. It's over your research surveys. And I've talked to many of you throughout the years about really needing to segment your ideas by different products or areas of ownership. So we will be introducing that. We'll be bringing the ideas and the signals and the forms that Stephen talked about into that product segmentation layer. So you can segment, according to what works for your organization. It does have a permissions layer as well. So you can kind of control a top level view or edit access from that container. What you see on the table today is just a refreshed, really reimagined kind of visualization and experience for consuming all of those ideas. So a nice clean table format. I'm going to talk more about status, which you'll see here. It's also in this initial release, but I want to expand a little bit more on signals, which Stephen hinted at. So as he also mentioned, right, prioritization is one of the hardest decisions that we have to make in product. Sometimes things come from top down, sometimes it's the loudest person in the room. And even when we are trying to use data driven decisions, it can still be really hard. So we really believe in the voice of the customer, whether you're an internal facing product or an external facing product, being able to point back to the exact words or the exact pain points that your customer and stakeholder talk to is really powerful in making some of those decisions. But also in as that evolves through the life cycle, right, of the PDLC or the SDLC, I'm making a prioritization decision. I'm doing more research about the pain point. I'm making decisions about the solution. So keeping that customer voice front and center is really powerful. So as you can see here, I've opened up an idea and I can see the signals kind of building. This is again that evidence layer. I'll sneak preview a little bit. You'll see feedback form, which we'll walk through. But we're really thinking about what are the existing touch points that you have. A feedback form is one way to collect that evidence. We have research surveys. You might be doing a dedicated research effort, where you're doing some testing on a prototype or you're exploring a certain pain point, as well as transcripts, right? Uploading a customer discovery call or a research conversation where we can pull actual quotes from that to, again, create another piece of evidence for you in the real customer voice. So that's why you see this kind of grouped by feedback form here. But as I scroll through, I can see here, Demi Wilkinson from Wayne Enterprises submitted a feedback form request, and that shows up here as a signal on my idea. So that's the overall concept. I can see that on my table, not only the number, but kind of that trend, right? Is this stale? Is it fresh? Is it growing? And this is one of those components where I can start to make some initial prioritization decisions. I'll talk more about prioritization in a minute because that is also coming. But let's dive into the forms around how we start to collect these signals. So we do have idea forms today. It's another piece of this reimagined experience, being able to make them more powerful, easier to use, and a better experience for the people who are actually submitting those feedback requests as well. So we have research surveys in today, and we're actually going to be unifying the feedback form in with research surveys so that you have a complete, unified, easy to use building experience for all types of forms. So I can come in here, I can see the different types, I can build a new one. Here we'll put a title in. I can select feedback form or research survey. Again, feedback form being one of those, kind of continuous, open-ended, ongoing ways to collect insights. We'll start from a template and have a really kind of streamlined building experience for this. A lot of the things that we've heard are more flexibility in question types, being able to make things required or unrequired, reordering, etc. So you'll have texts, multi-choice with a single or multiple options, an other and free text field, as well as a rating system where you can start to get an idea of how impactful is this problem for you, how big of a pain point is it, etc. Which again will aid in that kind of prioritization decision. So as I go through and build my survey, I'll have a live preview link up here at the top. You can kind of see what that looks like. Just a really clean, non-branded experience that you can customize, a welcome message and the instructions up at the top, as well as the questions. And I think a big thing for a lot of users that I've talked to is just a dramatically simplified kind of anti-spam method. We do an email verification today, really taking advantage of I think it's Google reCAPTCHA 3, just quick checkbox, it's validated, and that'll show up in their system. So two ways that this feedback can be viewed, and I'll go kind of step through that. But first, I'm going to save this form, and I'll see the share link here with public URL that you can share with your stakeholders, whether you choose to do that internally or externally, as well as an embed URL. Some of the common use cases that I've heard around this are something like an internal Confluence page, a wiki form, where you might want to share that internally to other people who are submitting feedback. So after I save this, we'll take a look at how that feedback comes in. Again, there's two ways that this can come in, and it's going to feed straight into that signals and evidence layer that we talked about before. So I'm going to open a form, and here I can see every single submission that somebody generated for that form in particular. James Whitfield submitted one. Here's all the questions that he answered. And if I'd like to, I can just open that up so I can view his response on its own. But the second way that these responses come in is as signals in that idea space. So I want to draw attention to this unassigned signals drawer here. You'll see kind of the indication of how many items are there. And this is where, again, those submissions are going to come in to help you sort of triage and identify, where does this evidence go? Does it go to an existing idea? Should I create a new idea for it? And what makes it even more powerful, what Steven mentioned, is the AI layer that we're going to put on top of this. So we're going to look at the existing ideas in your system, the signals that are attached to those ideas, some additional context to really help you do that routing so you guys can focus on the important work and not just the maintenance side. We want you to stay in the driver's seat. So there's going to be an approval layer there. We'll suggest the matches for you, or suggest that, hey, an idea doesn't exist like this in your system today. So why don't we create a new one? But before I show you that, we'll talk a little bit about just the signals with AI off. I can have some bulk edit here and be able to create a new idea or add them to an existing idea, or just simply create one from the spot. So here I'll click create new idea, and it's generated for me with that signal attached. Now I can start to add additional pieces of evidence to this idea as it evolves over time. If I want to take a look at that AI, this is something that we're kind of still working through on discovery standpoint, pretty close. So we'd love any additional feedback. If you guys want to jump into a discovery session, we're always welcome. Here we're going to, again, take a look through what's in your system and help you suggest those layers. So we'll give you a confidence, sort of high confidence, medium confidence, as well as some reasoning here so that you can understand kind of what that AI is thinking and why we're making the suggestions that we are. Again, you'll stay in that approval seat, approve, dismiss, over time, allowing that to be automated a little bit more. And then those will build on the idea as we discussed earlier. It's a little bit of that evidence layer, the signals, and the unassigned drawers and feedback form. So a lot of that is in this initial release. The AI will be quickly following. We've got a few enhancements there. So a lot coming up this summer that we're really excited about. And then right after that, we're going to add a prioritization ability for the ideas space. And we're working really closely with Charlotte and the roadmaps and integrations team to think about how does prioritization work, not only from where I'm starting sort of in this ideation feedback phase, but how does that flow into my road mapping? Here you can see common prioritization frameworks that you might use: RICE, value versus effort, et cetera. But we also want to make sure that you have the ability to sort of customize that to what works for you. It's hard to, process and change management is really hard. So we want to make sure that we're enabling you to work how it's best for your organization. You can come in here. Maybe I don't call it value versus effort. Maybe I call it impact versus confidence. I add some different scoring, et cetera. However you do that, you'll be able to use that framework. And as I add that into the system, we'll see it pop up on the table right there. So that's one way that we'll be adding prioritization. We have a survey that we're going to drop in the chat as well. If you'd love to add your own feedback and use case about how you all are prioritizing ideas or feedback in that discovery space, love for you to take part. Um, and I'll kind of keep going for a second. I think one of the things that I skipped over earlier is status. This is something that's been requested for a long time. And it's not just about, workflow. We get an inundation of ideas in product management, right? It's really coming from every angle. And I need to kind of triage and make sense of things as they come in. But it's also an initial communication tool, right? I have stakeholders that care about whether that's somebody like Steven, in leadership, or whether that's my CSM team that really want to come in here and kind of see where something is at. I can give them that visibility at a high level. This is something that as we evolve and as we work with that road mapping team, we're thinking about how does that, correlate with things that are in your road mapping space? Is there some automation here that we can do to kind of help make sure that that communication layer is up to date? All right. As we kind of expand and think about what's coming after that, I will quickly preview an idea of the board concept, and then we'll pause. But one of the other pieces of feedback that we constantly hear is about needing to make sure that we have that feedback loop, right? Not only to share with internal stakeholders, but potentially to our end users. This is something else that we are exploring for, this year, end of Q3-ish timeframe, but really giving you a way to share with full power over what's visible or what's not. What's coming in the space? What are you considering? What's in discovery, and allowing your users and stakeholders to give you additional feedback on that content. This is a pattern that you'll see in that road mapping space as well, where you have video or rich media, being able to actually click into a prototype or take a survey. And again, having all of that feed those signals in the back end of the system to build your ideas. So a lot is coming in that ideas space today. Very, very soon in the next couple of weeks, again, you'll see that initial release. We'll add on those AI layers within the weeks after, and then prioritization and so on. So that is the overall vision. Any thoughts you want to add, Steven?
Quickly select and promote to the
Yes.
roadmap, and that evidence is
Thank you.
Follow.
Thank you for calling that out. Yeah, I didn't get to touch on that. So as you mentioned, streamlining that process from ideation to the roadmap backlog. Today, it's a little bit, you got to connect to initiatives and so on. We want to really streamline that and keep the evidence layer with it. So quickly pushing to the backlog, being able to choose, is this an initiative, an epic, a story? What level is this really at? Carrying through that metadata. So I made some initial prioritization decisions. What does that look like as I move into the road mapping space, as well as that evidence layer? I think this is a really important component. Sometimes it gets lost, or you're clicking around to different modules in a tool. When I'm looking at something on the roadmap, a stakeholder might want to know, where did that come from? What were they saying? Why is this important? And so being able to keep all of that data and history together as this evolves and moves from ideation to road mapping is really important. Quickly save this to the backlog. And we'll see it here pop up on this roadmap space. Thank you for calling that out. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's a powerful feature. All that evidence of why this feature against the prioritization framework, and then having all of the to be able to show stakeholders why we're on the roadmap. Why?
Yeah.
Else. We know that's a very important use case for our team. Here is really streamlined processes, and a lot of teams, a lot for different parts of this process. From my perspective, is a continuum. It's just a, it starts with a comment or a feedback or a request or inbound email or some discovery research. That's the seed of the idea. As you collect more evidence and then start prioritizing against what else you could do, and then that then is promoted to we want to
Yeah.
move forward with it. And so what we're trying to do is provide a process that takes it all the way from that initial idea, and the exciting, bi-directional integration we had webinar with your uh, or
Yeah.
you can open up to questions.
Perfect.
Yeah. So Max, you can with easier in marketing. Max, awesome, love it. Like any, we'd love to understand a little bit more detail on what that use case is exactly, specifically for marketing and how we can best serve it. But recommendation that's a um, and if we love to them for product, and we could see how we can best.
Definitely. Yeah, and that workflow too, kind of going from okay, ideation to roadmap space, where you can continue to evolve on that and then push that down into your DevOps systems where they can then, expand on how they want to break that ticket down for delivery.
Sri asked, "Is it only Jira integration, other tools?" So we have Jira and ADO as the integrations now. Even
Integrations, Jira and ADO, we have
flexibility.
GitHub as well as Slack and some others. From a DevOps standpoint, I would say Jira and ADO are primary, but we're consistently exploring that as well.
Yeah, and the service now requests Sri um, uh, today. So with anything, it's always you know question is, what do you want to do with that integration, right? We need to understand the use case and the need. And Jira integration is
Yeah,
pretty straightforward. It's to make sure that we're showing complete and the link
yeah,
between on the roadmap and deliver and is pretty
yeah.
straightforward perspective. But we love integrations. We're happy to explore it. We
Yeah, I
just
think
want to understand
about,
the use case.
as we've planned kind of what's coming in this ideation space, and I talked about what are those different customer touch points that you have where you're already connecting with your stakeholders and your users, right? We've talked about not only feedback forms as a way of collecting signals, and I mentioned transcripts and conversations earlier, but support systems, right? Support ticketing systems like ServiceNow, et cetera. So that's something that as we expand in this product intelligence space, we're definitely looking at is those kinds of touch points that already exist and how can we kind of bring in the data that you have so you're not living, with feedback and ideas and whatnot in all of these disparate systems, but having a single source of truth.
Rajanya, did I pronounce that right? Hopefully, I didn't butcher it too bad. Had a good question in the chat. Can we have a preview of the public link page? What input fields do recipients see beyond the question? So, yeah, preview link for the that you do get a preview link for the feedback
Yes.
page.
Um, for the feedback form, one second. So
So that's a pre. So that top right button
yeah,
says a
and you can
preview link
customize
there.
what questions are in here. We do ask for name and email address, and some of this data will again populate the signal, right? Like the title and the description of the signal, as well as any additional questions that you fill out. For the feedback form, we don't have anonymous at this point. That is one of the signals that we're collecting, both for this and the research surveys as well.
My opinion on this is, if someone doesn't want to give their name for an idea, as a person underweight that as an idea, like it's not like we're going to span a mutual relationship where we're willing to engage in the dialogue. Give us your name, so
Yeah.
and we can understand, because the reality is that requests that are not from your target personas, that you're just going to say thank you very much right now. And so that level of metadata is important, and therefore we think it's a best practice to force it. And if it's really not worth them giving you their name and email, then it might not be a highest priority. And so I think that's a little bit of friction in the process is not necessarily a bad thing to do to actually be back and know an existing customer or a product, not something.
Yeah. Just to call out the
Um,
the organization piece that you mentioned there, that is will work similar to how it works today. It'll be essentially a label, so it's not going to auto populate from their submission. But that is something that we're looking at standardizing, making it an object that we can actually integrate with like a CRM, so we can pull in other data and help you make decisions based on ROI or other things.
yeah. Okay. Um, okay. Another question from Virginia. You mentioned needing to connect initiatives strategy anymore. Does this mean we will not have the
Uh,
workflow going forward?
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
strategy will still exist. That's definitely going to exist as it does today. If you haven't joined one of the roadmap and integrations webinars, I would definitely join one of those, because we're going to completely give that a facelift as well. Ideas today do not directly connect to objectives. Initiatives they do connect to, and we're going to keep initiatives in the system, but they're going to be moving out of its kind of isolated space and into that road mapping area. So you'll still be able to connect ideas to initiatives, but you'll also be able to make an idea into an epic or a story or another hierarchical item. Yeah.
Great questions. Uh, definitely should send you the uh, definitely should send you the webinar that we just did. Charlotte and I just did on the roadmap, lining that process dramatically, make it easier to use to connect objectives, initiatives, and your roadmaps there.
Great. I just dropped a link in to our survey today. So I mentioned a little bit earlier, we were talking about prioritization in this idea space. Not just in the idea space, how does that evolve into road mapping? How do we allow you to make sure that you can use frameworks that work for your organization today? So definitely appreciate if you have the time, take a few minutes out and give us some insights and some signals that we can add as we continue to explore that space. Any other questions? I think that might be it. All right.
Okay. Real quick, want to promote that.
Yeah.
Well, also worth mentioning that we're not you're not going to lose any data if you already have ideas there. Um, so that's all be migrated. Pains to do that for you. There's obviously no impact on your pricing. We think better version of the product. Um, so
Yeah, we will be, just to call this out. We've sent out some emails, but I want to make sure that I draw your attention to it. So the ideas API from a public standpoint will be end of life along with this release. But as Steven mentioned, the data, the metadata that you have on your ideas today will continue to exist. Will migrate to this new experience, and this will all happen around the mid-July as we start QA. Look for it in the next couple of weeks with the AI features to follow. All right. Upcoming webinars. I just dropped my water bottle, so everybody heard that. Upcoming webinars. There was a roadmap and integrations webinar that looked at the reimagined roadmaps space a couple of weeks ago. And on the 15th, we're going to do a deep dive around the integrations there for road mapping. We're really, overhauling that experience as well, taking care to make sure that we address some historical pain points, being able to integrate with additional hierarchical items, bi-directional sync, a lot of those goodies that we've been looking for a while. So if you're interested in a deep dive in the integrations work that's coming up, I would definitely RSVP to that webinar, as well as an additional ideas webinar in a few weeks at the end of the month. We'll show you what's actually live in the ideas space after the release, walk through more details about the AI enhancements that we're adding in this, and then go further into detail of the public ideas feedback board that I shared with you earlier.
If you have other questions, book. You can book. There'll be some office hours. You can do a one. Reach out to your CSM. We're happy to walk through training or migration concerns or questions you have there. We're very excited to show to.
Awesome.
Coming in at the chat or QA?
I don't think so.
That's it. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time, and we'll send out here if you want to also reach out.
Thank you.
With us. Thank you.